Greetings, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tide Flies and Guide Service. And we're going to be building an original pattern here, CT egg-laying Grannom Caddis. I'll dream this up watching Caddis do what they do. And I looked around at some other stuff that I've seen here and there. And I came up with this. You'll be able to drift it, skitter it, do about whatever you want with it. I'll walk you through the ingredients as we go, and of course they'll be in the description. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And here we go. You're going to mount a Daiichi 1130 or a Mustad C49. Excuse me. We're going to be using Semperfli Nano Silk and a 50D. Okay, once you get tied in, you're going to rotate your hook down. The egg sac goes back here on the back part of the bend. Excuse me. Because you want it to dip as you're skittering it or as you're floating it. So the egg sac is Semperfli Glow Bright Floss in Chartreuse. And I mean, this is simple enough. You're just gonna take it in half like that and tie that about half, 3/4 way up the shank. You don't want to get it, well, that didn't work. Too far towards the back because it'll hamper the taper when you put the abdomen on. Okay, about halfway down the bend, and then you're going to take one wrap under and one wrap over. Okay. And then you're just going to clip that off just a shade under 1/8 of an inch. And there's your egg sac. Okay, so next is your abdomen. And I'm using brown turkey Biot from Nature's Spirit. You're going to tie this in by the tip, by the small tip. You're going to stretch your hand out and whack your camera. You're just going to follow that along with your finger. You do not want to try to put hackle pliers on this because you will break it. This is very, very gentle stuff. And just follow it up the body. All right, and then you can rotate your Hook back over. Okay. Next, you're going to put your thorax on, and your thorax is Peacock Herl. You want a Peacock Herl that's got some fluff to it. For this is a size 12. So like, you don't want that one. And you don't want that one. There we go. That'll do it. See, when you look at your Herls, when you look at them face on, they kind of look, well, somewhat similar, except for that when you wrap on see how big that is? All right, I'm going to take this one off, and I'll put the other one on. I'm having a hard time seeing because I don't have my light on. Well, you kind of got my point there. It's breaking. Let's try this one. Now you see how that's hardly standing out? That you'll use for a smaller bug. So just save it, because, you know, I tie these in a 12 down to a 16. So I'll use those smaller ones for the 14 and the 16. But I want something that's a little bigger for the 12. You're going to bring that thorax back to about the point. Okay? And then you're just going to wrap that Herl forward. And you can snip that off, and see this little tiny sucker you can use on a 16. So just hold on to that. Let me see if I'm going to drown this out if I turn this on. Well, maybe a little bit. How about this one? Well, that's not too bad. For now, anyway. I just broke my lamp. So the missus isn't going to be real happy, but I'm going to have to order a new one. Okay, so next is the CDC underwing. I'm using Nature Spirit CDC in Mallard Gray. The puffs. So Nature Spirit calls them tufts. Hareline calls them oiler puffs, but it's the same thing. You just want 2, and you're going to line them up. You know, so the tips are kind of even. You're going to lay those on, and they should take the long axis of the fly. All right. Take a couple of pinch wraps here. Trim that off without hitting your thread. And okay, well, that's done. I'm going to have to get me a new one of those. Okay, so from here, we're going to put on a Wonder Wing. So these are kind of nifty. You got a mallard flank or a wood duck flank, and you're just going to peel these back. You don't want a real thick stem, so just peel it back until you get to the thinner part of the stem. And that's what's going to go on. Just like that. You just check that. Get a couple underneath here. A couple more on top. Lock that in. And you're going to snip that off. And you're going to snip that off. And there you have it. Okay, and then, last but not least, your Ewing mini pack. And I'm using a brown here. This hackle in the front is what's going to help you to skitter it across the top of the water to mimic that egg-laying behavior of the female. And typically, you would go with 1 to 1.5 times the gap. Here, you're going to go 1.5 to 2 times the gap. It's okay if the hackle is a little oversized because you kind of want it that way. Because that's what's going to help you to skitter it. And you just keep putting them on and pulling them back. You'll get about only 7 wraps. That's what I usually get. I don't know, I lost count now. Oh, good. one more here and I'll tie it off. There we go. Now, if you wanted to, you could save these tips for spinners. I mean, I don't, but it doesn't mean you can't. Okay, we got my little head on there. I'm going to make sure that my fly is flat. I'm going to paint my thread with some UV resin instead of taking a chance on clogging the eye with it. Let that soak down in there. And hit it with me light. Watch that. See that glow bright light up? That's kind of nifty. And there you have it. CT egg laying Grannom Caddis. I hope this tutorial was good for you. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Excuse me, for this and other cool fish catching bugs. You can find them on my website at custom-tied.com. That's custom-tied.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. Happy tying.